This week we're going to finish off a bit of scenery and we're going to start to fix our first track down.
Getting my second coat of paint on a few areas just to finish off the brown, so we can paint that and get our second coat on so it covers up the lighter brown that we put on before, and hopefully 2 coats normally is enough. That looks better already, bit better coverage. This section here, our station will be going over that, so I'm not too worried about it, but nice to give it a bit of a coat. So this section here, this track, I haven't really done much with that yet. That is actually going to be going up to a bridge. So I'm going to need to cut a small piece of wood that will go down back to track level. I don't really know how high this bridge is going to be yet, because that depends how low I can get this section. So I still haven't moved this particular section yet. So I'm going to cut a piece of wood so that we've got that ready for the elevation that we need. Just covering up this bottom section here with the plaster cloth, ready so that I can put some plaster on and give it a bit of a paint as well. So this is the base of our mountain. Remembering that it's important that we put down 2 layers. That's why I'm going back over it again with that second layer of plaster cloth. It helps make it a little bit stronger when I come to paint it and put the other scenery on it. Once the plaster cloth has taken a while to dry out, then I can start painting on the plaster, just to give it a bit of a base, so I can put on some grass and, well, paint it first and then put on the grass a little bit later on. I'm going to be laying down the inner circle of track, just to be able to, well, to start laying it down really, I've got to do some wiring and some few other things. So I'm going to get the track out, put it round just so I can check everything fits all okay, and then we'll look at doing some wiring and pinning the track down. I've got my track plan printed out. I've got all the part numbers of the different pieces of track that I need to add in, and I've also labelled up my straights that I need to cut, and then I've got a cutting list as well, so I know all the lengths and dimensions of the track that I've got to cut. So I've got a few things to be able to do to help me put that track in. I am now getting all the pieces of track out, the ones that I need, just sorting them out, and then now I can start putting them down. Try and put them down in the rough order that they're going, then go away and dig out some of the straights, so now I can put the straights in there as well, and all the other points and turnouts that we need. So I have some more track to cut. So I've got 3 pieces. I need 162 millimeters, 339 millimeters, and 65 millimeters. So I can start measuring the track that I need, and then I'm going to mark it. So the first one's got to be 65 millimeters. So maybe I put some white paper under, that's going to be easier to see. There you go, that's a bit easier. So 65 millimeters, so we put the track on 65, and I'm going to mark it at 0. So that's what we need. 0. Yeah, 65. Check it again. So 65 millimeters. So that's good. Then we can use our special cutters to cut the track flush. So 65. Let's check again. There we go. So in the middle of the marks. So we're going to cut that. Oh, let's get rid of the little sleepers at the bottom first. I'll cut those out. Oh, this is the problem in the garage, the light's not very good, and I'm getting old. Okay, so let's cut the sleepers a bit. Okay, so I've got a bit of a gap on the sleeper now. So then now I can cut the track. So flush cut. And there's one, and then we have to do the other one. I'll cut him the other side. The other way. Oops, I'm dropping it. There you go. Right, a little piece of track. I'll get the big one out of the way for the sec. So that's him cut. So I'm just going to clean him up with a little file and then he's ready to use. I've got to do that for the other pieces as well. Okay, so we've got to get the fish plates on the track itself. So we are going to have to cut away some of the little rail chairs where the sleepers are connected to the track. There's some tiny little plastic pieces that hold the rail onto the sleeper. So to get get the fish plate inside here, I'm going to have to cut away those little rail chairs just very gently, so that then we can get the sleepers get the fish plates inside. So we just cut that away very carefully. So then now that will go inside. That's good. And we have to do that on both ends, of course. So I'll do that, and then we'll push a fish plate on, and then the whole track will be ready for use. I've got the inner loop set up. It's not fixed down yet. I've just set it up so I can see. So I've got it all connected. It took me a little bit longer than I thought, all the way around through the tunnel, coming around here. So now what we can do is we can give a test run, moving a carriage around, just making sure that we have enough clearance. So we just follow him around, take him around. So going through the tunnel, I notice here there's a little bit of tight clearance there. Can you see? Not a lot of space, but it's enough for now. It works. So going this way. Oh, he's come off. And back on. So yeah, we just check that the train runs okay. So he seems to be all good. Yeah, runs nicely. So the track, it looks okay. So what I need to do now is to mark where the points are. I'm going to need to drill some holes so that we can put the point motors through. So there's a few points holes I have to drill over here as well. And then got to start putting in the power holes. So I've got to drill some holes for power. Like here, I'm going to drill a hole for power. Over here as well, on this side. And then also, do you remember we put the toilet roll under here, so there's a gap there, so I can put some power there. So there's a few things that I've got to do, is drill holes and various other things, and then we can think about starting to fix the track down. Well, I've been putting this off for quite a long time, so it's about time I got started. So now I'm going to be soldering wires to the track for the electricity, for the power. So as you can see, I've marked on some places on the circuit where I want the power. And then here now, I've actually marked on the track itself, a couple of little lines. So I know where I want to put the power cables for that particular piece of rail. So you can see there's two holes underneath there on the power base. So that allows me to put the wires going through those holes. So I'm going to have to drill some holes on that in a minute. But first, I'm going to be soldering the wires to that piece of track. Well, first things first, I'm going to be cutting off the plastic underneath the track, so we can see where I've marked up the track here. So underneath that, I now need to snip the plastic rail and the plastic sleepers so that we can get space to solder. So there's one, you see I've chopped him out. So now there's no plastic sleeper in there. So I'm going to be trying to solder the wires to that little piece of track. So I'm going to do it for the other side, and then we can look at the soldering. A slight change of plan. I've cut a couple of sleepers, can you see, and I've pushed them back out of the way so that then now I can get access to wiring that piece of track up. So the first thing we've got to do, got to give the track a bit of a clean. So you might have seen this one before. This is my little fiberglass pen. So we give the track a little bit of a clean up, so we get a nice clean surface on the track. So that is now ready for taking the solder So then what we need to do is we put some what we call flux on it, a little bit of flux. So we paint some, it makes the solder run a little bit easier. And then now I'm going to prepare the wires, and then we're going to solder the wires on. We're going to cut a piece of wire. So I've got my wire here, and you might remember the parrot from earlier in the series. So I'm going to cut my wire with my parrot. So now he's there. And then now I'm just going to strip that plastic end off the wire using the parrot as well. So can you see that now? So I've got my little metal wire on the end. So now I'm going to tin the wire. So what we do is we put that in some flux. We've got a little bit of flux here. Put that in there. We get a little bit of solder. We clean our soldering iron quickly. We then heat up the wire. And we put on a bit of solder. So we use the soldering iron, we heat that up, and we put a little bit of solder on, and that actually tins the wire. Now I'm going to use my helping hand because I don't want to burn my fingers. So I'll put the wire in the helping hand, and then you'll see now I'm going to heat up that wire, and then we put a little bit of solder in with that particular thing. There we go. Okay, so that means the wire is now the wire has got its tinning on him. Obviously soldering irons are very hot, so generally better to let an adult do that. And then you see now we've got that piece of wire, it's actually covered, or the end of the wire is covered in solder. I don't know if you can see that very well. So now that is then ready to go onto the rail. So we'll do that in a sec. The helping hand's holding the wire for me. Now I just have to heat it up and push it onto the track. Okay, so there he is, he's all done. Clean my soldering iron. And then now I can take it out of the helping hand, and we have our piece of wire connected to the rail. So I've only got to do that another about 35 times, and then we're finished. Here is my first ever soldered piece of track, all done with my own hands. I'm actually very pleased with it as a first effort. So now I've got to do all of the others. I'm going to drill my first holes for the wires. So carefully putting the drill in the center of the hole, very carefully, and then slowly starting the drill. Oh, there we go, that's one. And then carefully with the other one as well. Okay, so there we have our holes drilled. We'll get our hoover and hoover up the mess. Now we can put the wires in the holes, so we feed them in carefully, both of them, like that, and we can push them through. There you go. Maybe I'll pull them from underneath, and there we go. So now the track will sit in there in exactly the right place it's supposed to be. So now I can start fixing, I can fix this piece of track down and then start putting the other pieces on as well. Well, I nearly forgot, but I've got the blue plastic for the power base under here still. So I need to remember to peel that off. So otherwise I'm going to have the plastic under there. So now using a pair of tweezers, I can pull off the plastic. So we've got that off there. Can you see? So we'll get him off. So now there's no plastic there. Can you see nice shiny metal plate there as well? So very good. It's quite fiddly pulling all of the blue plastic off. I had to use a little pair of tweezers and work my way slowly around the board. So I'm getting some of the track back on now, and you'll see I'll pick up my little pin vise, drill a little hole, and then put in one of my track pins and push it down. So I'm actually starting to fix that track down onto the board now to hold it in place. It's been nice having you along. We'll see you next time.
8:30 p.m. Weekdays and Sundays. The Down Coastal Special leaves you